أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم نور قلوبنا واشرح صدورنا بنور القرآن والإيمان والإسلام اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. Selamun Aleyküm ve Rahmetullahi ve Berekatuh. Inshallah, everyone is doing great. So we didn't have our discussion last week because we had a small retreat last week during the Thanksgiving the weekend. So I apologize for those who missed us. But inshallah, we will continue today. And today we will continue from 25th word, second light, and third beam. As you would all remember, the 25th word is a long treatise about the miraculousness, comprehensiveness, but miraculousness in general of Quran. And we've been studying it more than a year. Inshallah, we will continue again today. Again, this is 25th word, second light, and third beam. So if there's any problem with my sound coming to you, please let me know. Otherwise, we can start, inshallah. So we will continue with a verse from Surah Kaf. It starts as today, not look at the sky above. This is the sixth ayah. So I wanted to start with the first ayah, since the beginning of the surah will be also alluded in the text. So if you don't mind, let's read from the beginning. Oh, let me.
Brother Bernard,
Oh, yes, please.
if you make it read through recording, YouTube is blocking the video for copyright reasons.
So if I make this web page to read it, you mean recitation?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, that's what I was about to do. Thank you for warning. So then we will need you to read it, Yusuf.
I think we have a Hafiz.
Okay, we can go with the Aziz if he's available, if he can read the.
Yeah, of course, inshallah.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan. So we will start from 1, and then, as you read, I will try to go down until 11. Let me check.
Inshallah.
Yes, including the 11. Let's start with you, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قاف والقرآن المجيد بل عجبوا أن جاءهم منذر منهم فقال الكافرون هذا شيء عجيب أإذا متنا وكنا ترابا ذلك رجع بعيد قد علمنا ما تنقص الأرض منهم وعندنا كتاب حفيظ بل كذبوا بالحق لما جاءهم فهم في أمر مريج أفلم ينظروا إلى السماء فوقهم كيف بنيناها وزيناها وما لها من فروج والأرض مددناها وألقينا فيها رواسي وأنبتنا فيها من كل زوج بهيج تبصرة وذكرى لكل عبد منيب ونزلنا من السماء ماء مباركا فأنبتنا به جنات وحب الحصيد والنخل باسقات لها طلع نضيد رزقا للعباد وأحيينا به بلدة ميتا كذلك الخروج صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah khairan. All these years we wasted our time with Yusuf's recitation while we had such a talented person among us. Okay, inshallah, from now on, we found our reciter. Okay, the rough translation, as you can see on the screen, goes by Kaf, by the honored Quran, glorious Quran. But they wonder that there has come to them a warner from among themselves. And the disbelievers say, this is an amazing thing. Wait a second. All will be resurrected. So where this all will be resurrected part comes? Any idea? Maybe historical context? Maybe coming words?
Is it from bell?
Sorry?
Is it from the bell at the beginning?
What do you mean? Like all will be resurrected or anything? The ayah doesn't have anything about the resurrection, right? And the other translation doesn't have anything about the resurrection. Why there's a allusion to resurrection here in this translation, and also in the rest of the ayahs? So the resurrection is part of the context for sure. But this is interesting. Anyway, when we have died and have become dust, there is a distant return, or this is impossible. So obviously, Mufassir here was including these parts about the resurrection because the remaining ayahs, the other ayahs. We know what the earth diminishes of them, and with us is a retaining record. But they denied the truth when it came to them, so they are in a confused condition. And this ayah is, what is taken in the text that we will be reading, inshallah. Have they not looked at the heaven above them, how we structure it and adorned it, and it has no rifts, or it's flawless? And the earth, we spread it out and cast therein firmly, set mountains and made grove therein of every beautiful kind, giving insight and a reminder for every servant who turns. And we haven't sent down blessed rain from the sky. And we have sent down blessed rain from the sky and made grove thereby gardens and grain from the harvest. And lofty palm trees having fruit arranged in layers, as provision for the servants, and we have given life thereby to a dead land. Thus is the emergence. Thus is the emergence, or just like, maybe similar to the emergence, right? Kezalike, yeah. Just like this, the emergence, or just like the emergence. Okay, it starts with warning and people denying this warning. And despite this warning among themselves, they deny it, and they deny, as explained later, it seems, the resurrection. And after dying and becoming dust, coming back to life or being resurrected seems to be impossible to them. And as a response, so it's interesting, but we, I guess, witnessed this a lot of times while we discussing the miraculousness of Quran. As a response, yeah, it starts with, we know everything about you, or everything the earth consumes, right? What we know what happens to them, as if. And then the real answer, let's say more detailed answer, not the real, but the more detailed answer, comes in the form of reminding what we always experience, how the things are being created in front of us, how they are resurrected in front of us. And then all these things given as a evidence for the coming emergence. So, كذلك الخروج, it's as if, you know, okay, we explained, we gave you all these examples, and the thing that you are doubtful is just like this. There is no much difference between the two for us. Okay, I will go back to text, read this ayah one more time. But before that, do you have any comments, questions about the surah, about the ayahs we read?
Assalamu alaikum. Brother Birhan,
please go ahead.
Do you mind going back to where you had the surah?
Sure. And which one?
Can you go up, 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 up? Up still, sorry. Yeah, that ayah.
Okay.
So the one before it. Yeah, I just that it is interesting to have the warner or reminder among themselves, and although it meant, or at least that's my understanding, it meant Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam among his tribe back then. I think we also get warners within us, like when one of us thinks, sometimes we get that kind of reminder within us that is speaking to us, and at least I am talking about myself, and sometimes I tend to dismiss it because it's easier to do that, and just that's actually my only comment. So it's good to pay attention to that reminder within us.
Oh, so do you mean when you say within us, did you take it as like a within person, not
Yes.
within the community? Okay, within the person. Okay. And what do you understand a reminder or munzirun, like the warner within a person? What do you understand from that? Just to make it, just to clarify it for everyone else.
Just kind of events, like they can be very great things happening, or and then we take credit for it, or what appears to be bad and we don't really pay attention to what we are learning and what we've been taught. And it's easy for us just to focus on whatever we tend to focus on in Hayat Dunya, and do not really pay attention to the warner. At least that's the way I'm taking it right now.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan. Any comments about that, or any other part of the surah ayahs that we read? Okay, I will continue with the text and then. Okay, I will continue with the text. Oh, Muhammad Said, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I think the brother expressed what I was feeling, and since you put the question, what does it mean to say that a person has a warning or is given warning within him? I was thinking about it, and I thought when I follow the verses. The verses is kind of the underlying point in the verse for me, is to expect life, more life I am expecting. And this earth is not capable of providing it. And I am kind of aware of it, that this earth cannot be providing what I am expecting. And that becomes kind of a warning for me, within me. Thank you.
So your expectations and the dissatisfactions when you return to universe or earth, as you said, this dissatisfaction you get is a warning, if I'm getting it right.
That's how I took it, because I am aware of my need, but the need, the response, to answer, the satisfaction of my need is not available. That becomes a warning for me.
Jazakallah khairan. That's a really important point. Like, we usually take such feelings, satisfaction, dissatisfaction, happiness, sadness, success, and so on, the sense of success, we take them usually granted, rather than trying to understand what it means, what it conveys, what it's calling me toward. Taking them as warners, of course, open the possibility. Sorry, it opens the possibility of understanding them, listening to them. Okay, I'm still waiting for a few seconds to see if anyone else wants to say something. Yeah, Aziz, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think there was one thing also I left behind, which is when I just know this in me, like when I do wrong, like when I know I'm not doing the right thing, like in general, let's say becoming rude to someone or something like that, there is that reminder and you kind of something telling you to not do that. And it's almost like you spend some energy to step on that reminder and do what you want to do at that moment and kind of dismiss that reminder. And you can think of it also when you know that you're deviating from this guidance, when you like know that you're doing that. There is, I don't know, I feel like there is always that reminder that sometimes I step on and continue, but the reminder is there.
Jazakallah khairan. So in the context of this ayah and the resurrection, I guess it is kind of inevitable to add on top of this understanding of the warning within a person. I guess we also need to think about an external warner, like a prophet, with the solution to this problem. Because the warning within us is a warning to search for, to seek for a solution, right? When we are left by ourselves, yes, we have this dissatisfaction about life and the end of the life. But this feeling of ours, or our, let's say, the ideas or dreams, even like the desires, they do not tell us about the resurrection. Meaning, like they do not tell us that, oh, don't worry, you will be resurrected, and you will be going to heaven. These news, glad tidings, or good news, given us through the human messenger. And we see how our dissatisfaction fits perfectly with this message. So again, as I understand, at least, the warning inside us, it orients our minds to the truth, give us an incentive to seek for truth. It acts as, an enthusiasm for the truth. But the truth, like when we come to the truth itself, like the true message or the good news, we are blind to them, blind to it, or the universe as a whole is blind to it. Hence, a message from the Creator needs to be delivered. And as we study the miraculousness of Quran, in this context, we can limit ourselves maybe to Quran, the message. But in reality, this good news or the satisfaction of our desires is only possible through following the Prophet and the message that the Prophet brings. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe it is different for others, but for myself, the feelings, the warnings inside me, they do not tell me the answer. They only tell me that whatever you are doing is wrong or incomplete. You should find the answer. And for example, do they not look at the sky above them, how we have made it and adorned it? And there are no flaws in it. And the earth, we have spread it out and set their own mountains standing firm and produce therein every kind of beautiful growth in pairs. As an insight and reminder for all God's servants who turn unto him. And we send down from the sky rain charged with blessing. And we produce there with gardens and grains for harvest. and tall and stately palm trees with shoots of fruit stalks piled one over another, as sustenance for God's servants, and we give new life therewith to land that is dead. Thus will the coming forth from the grave. Thus is the emergence, or thus is the resurrection. So these two parts attracted my attention right away, as sustenance for God's servants, and then as an insight and reminder for all God's servants who turn unto him. As if, whatever you see, all these bounties that you experience, these bounties are there to give you some insight, to give you some reminders. And they also act as bounties, sustenance. I mean, we can take this sustenance as, the things to eat and so on, since it's talking about the fruits, which is true. But at the same time, the true sustenance is the answer to what we are looking for, right? Which is the eternal life, eternal peace, the satisfaction. Can there be any comparison between these descriptions, these acts, which shine like the starry fruits of paradise? Starry fruits of paradise in the constellation of the surah in the skies of the Quran. So the ayahs starting with, do they not look at the sky above them, talking about the sky, stars, constellation maybe, and then the author making an analogy and saying that, in the skies of Quran, there is this constellation of the surah in which there are fruits of paradise, just like stars, individual stars. So each ayah in the surah is a star, is a fruit of paradise in the skies of Quran. Such a beautiful analogy, description, mashallah. And these mentioning many levels of proofs within them by means of the order of rhetoric, and this proving the resurrection of the dead, its conclusion with the phrase, thus will be the coming forth, or thus is the emergence, thus silencing those at the start of the surah, which we read, who deny resurrection. Can there be any comparison between these and the discussions of men about meddlesome acts which have little connection with them? Just to remind you that this third beam started by saying Quran cannot be compared with other words and speech, of humankind. And then there's another example to make it more clear, that I'm saying that can there be any comparison between these and the discussion of human about meddlesome acts which have little connection with them? It is not even the comparison of pictures of flowers by way of copying and real living flowers. So you may think, the words of Quran are like living flowers, and the words of a human being is like the picture of flowers. But there's such categorical distinction, the difference between the two, But the author says the difference is even beyond that. So the humans' words cannot even capture the picture of flowers, the way we describe flowers. To fully explain the meaning from do they not look to dust? To fully explain the meaning from do they not look to dust will be coming forth. So the first ayah that we read to the last ayah that we read, the connection between them, explaining the connection between them would be very lengthy. So we shall just pass over it with a brief indication like this. Since at the start of the surah, the unbelievers deny resurrection, the Quran gives a long introductory passage in order to compel them to accept it. It says, do you not look at the skies above you, which we have constructed in such magnificent, orderly fashion? Do you not see how we have adorned it with stars and the sun and the moon, and how we have allowed no fault or defect? Do you not see how we have spread out the earth for you, and with that wisdom we have furnished it? We have fixed mountains on it and protected it from the encroachment of the sea. Do you not see how we have created every variety of plant and growing thing on the earth, beautiful and of every color, and how we have made beautiful every part of it with them? And do you not see how we send grain? Sorry, do you not see how we sent down bounteous rain from the skies, and with it create gardens and orchards and grains and tall fruit-bearing trees like a delicious date, and how I caused them to grow and sent my servants sustenance with them? And do you not see that I raised to life the dead country with the rain? I create thousands of worldly resurrections. Just as I raise up with my power these plants out of this dead country. That is how your coming forth will be at the resurrection. At the resurrection, the earth will die and you will come forth alive. At the resurrection, the earth will die and you will come forth alive. Can there be any comparison between the eloquent explanations these verses set forth in proving resurrection, only 1,000 of which we have been able to allude to, and the words human puts forward to support a claim? Any immediate thoughts? I will continue with the text if we have time, because it's a long read if we continue. But let's stop here for now and see what people share with us. I'm sure you all have interesting thoughts. So one question. So this is about the words of Quran, or the wisdom in Quran, or explanation in Quran cannot be compared to explanation by humans, we people. And the author is also talking about a comparison in this very specific part that we read. For instance, can there be any comparison between the eloquent explanation these verses set forth in proving resurrection and the words of people. A similar comparison was there with sorry, oh, where is it? Yeah, it is not even comparison of pictures of flowers by way of copying and the real living flowers. So as if, you know, the words of people, when they discuss about the middle some acts which have little connection with things. So what discussions author talking about? Like what kind of words of people that he's comparing with the words of Quran? Yusuf, please go ahead.
So this surah reminded me of Surah Al-Jinn. Surah Al-Jinn starts with jinns speaking, or like the revelation says to the messenger. Let me very quickly go there, because I think the two seem to be very related. قل أوحي إلي أنه استمع نفر من الجن فقالوا إنا سمعنا قرآنا عجبا. The translation is, say, it has been revealed to me that some of the unseen beings, or the ones among jinn, listened to Quran. They said, we have really heard a wonderful recital, Qur'anan ajaba. So a Quran, a recital that is quite interesting. Ajaba here they translated as wonderful, but the same word is being used in the Surah Al-Qaf as we are now reading it, saying that Bal-ajibu. So they say, oh, it's really strange, very interesting that how is it going to happen that we are going to get resurrected? So in Surah Al-Jinn, the one that is speaking is a believer jinn, if you like, or whatever a jinn is, but it's from that perspective, saying that indeed we have heard something that is quite interesting. And in the next verse, it continues saying, يهدي إلى الرشد فآمنا به ولن نشرك بربنا أحدا, guiding towards consciousness of what is right. And so we have come to believe in it, and we shall never ascribe divinity to anyone beside our sustainer. And if we go down this Surah Al-Jinn, it is talking about this jinn is as if saying that, oh, there were some among us who actually we used to try to get news or steal news from the skies. And now we realize that after Quran's speech, we cannot do that anymore. So an author in here, to me, is as if combining the two, like based on author's interpretation, I realized that there is some parallelism that the author was noticing in here. And he is saying that Quran is speaking of the truth of things, and how, because as you go down Surah Al-Jinn, you will see that it's also talking about resurrection again. So let's say philosophy, science is trying to find or reveal what is behind what we see, or trying to explain us the existence. But the explanation that it provides us is, yeah, I'm going to die, I'm going to become a fertilizer, this is what it is, that much. I'm going to be no more, as once somebody said. It was an interesting explanation. One of our friends has passed away, and when announcing this, the person was just saying that, oh, such and such person is no more. So as if like it's end of it, it's done. Now he's a fertilizer. So this is a explanation that the science or whatever other than Quran is coming up with. And then Quran's way of explaining, though, is lively. It is talking about creatures and the plants and everything, so that it points to my life after this life. Science is talking about the same plants and the ecological system and everything, and saying that once you die, you are going to become part of that system as a fertilizer. So how far the two are from each other? They are using the same tool, same tree, same cloud, same rain and everything. One is saying that you're going to become part of this cycle as a fertilizer. The other one says, look at this cycle that's happening in here. You're going to be resurrected as this balda and maitan, this dead. Balda is interesting in here because it's like a city, a town. It's not only land in terms of earth. It's not ard. It's balda and maitan, as if the creator is saying that you see that this place is actually like a city that I am resurrecting every year, like your field that you plow. It's like a city that I keep resurrecting. You are going to be resurrected in the same way. So using the same tools, if you like, using the same alphabet, one of them says you are doomed to become non-existent. Write this sentence. Quran says using the same alphabet, same letters, the same tools, says you are going to be resurrected, and this is right in front of your eyes. And I don't know if the part with Surah Al-Jinn was clear, but the idea with the jinn is, jinns are, well, anyways, I think it's going to take long, so let me not get too much into there, but authors' sentences in here, especially about the constellations and everything, is, I think, directly related to how Surah Al-Jinn is describing what jinns are and what those alternative descriptions about truth might look like.
So the two types of explanation about dying men you mentioned, in which one you become a food for trees or plants or some other creatures, bacteria. In another explanation, your death is a gate for eternal life. But also, I guess, author also mentions the explanations about the thing that we experience, like the mountains, rain, the fruits, grain. So people would explain them in a certain way. We'll talk about them. It doesn't have to be explanation. Like it doesn't have to be about how they come to existence and so on and so forth. Like even if we forget about this explanatory, the talks, and just look at how we describe them, what they are, what purpose they serve, and so on and so forth. The way people describe them and the way Quran describes them. The author says there's a huge difference between the two. When talking about the flowers, for instance, the ayahs somehow alluding to them, right? Let me make sure the colorful things that was mentioned in the ayah was gardens, grain, harvests. Okay, harvest. So just as an example, take the flowers. The people talking about the flowers one way, and Quran is talking about the flowers, let's say, another way, or fruits. What is the main difference between the two? So author explains it in some way. What do you understand? How you take it? The people's explanation about a fruit or a flower or mountain, and Quran's description or explaining them. Muhammad Said, please go ahead.
I think it's a good question to think about. I think it is a question that can be used to unlock actually what the author is actually trying to say here to me as well. After the verse in the first paragraph, there is let me see, there is the author says, and this mentioning many levels of proofs within them. And then it continues by means of the order of rhetoric. I was thinking about this, and this mentioning many levels of proofs. What is the proof in these verses? So I think in the second paragraph, the author is basically expanding on it and giving more details. What I understood here is that the Quran, by starting from from very fundamentals, I think I can say, I think that, like, when I look at the earth, I see for me a flat earth. The Quran is telling me, or telling me that this being flat, it is made by us. So that's actually, that's the correction part. That's the part that is I think original to the Quran. I say, oh, the earth is beautiful, I can walk on it. The Quran is telling me that it is made. It cannot happen flat. It cannot be smooth by itself. So it starts from the very fundamentals, that it doesn't start from the life from the get-go. It starts from the very let's say simple observations that I see the earth that I can walk on. And then it continues, right? The sky, and it says we constructed it. So basically the question for me is it constructed? Oh, it means the Quran is telling me that it really cannot be up there by itself, right? So it gives me this question for me to think, so that way it can turn into a proof that really this earth cannot be smooth by itself, the sky cannot be built by itself. So from there, step by step comes to life. So I think it leaves no room, that nothing is really happening by itself. Now I am kind of prepared to see that, oh, expecting life from the earth is not logical, is not really human anymore, because nothing is from the earth anymore at all. Nothing is from the earth. If anything happening on earth must be brought into existence as it is, therefore it is there for me. There's no other way for the things to be as they are. I think that's the way the Quran calling my mind to question the things that I am observing. That's how I approached your question, Brother Bisham.
Jazakallah khairan. So when Quran speaks of them, it teaches us what they say, what they tell us, where they call. When Quran talks about the earth, when Quran talks about the beautiful things on it, it's all about their maker. And the speech that their maker making to us. Because this changes things a lot. Like when we listen to people's word, even the let's say the best of them, when they try to show us the beauty of the creation, when they talk about the beautiful things around us, they would talk about the beauty as it refers to the aesthetic values, their colors, the shape, how together they render a beautiful picture, how they touch upon the art, the sense of beauty, and so on, which is valuable to some extent, but it is still lifeless. It is that we enjoy and then we consume it and it stays there. And what we consume, what we get out of it, decays, just like the things that we eat. Like we enjoy eating some, I don't know, fried potatoes. It is enjoyable, but then it decays in us. And then we have to get rid of it. The same way as we consume the beauty in the creation, we get the pleasure out of it, but then it decays and we have to get rid of it. But when it comes to Quranic explanations, Quran's words, they stay with us because they change the way we look at the world. And it teaches us the message that they carry. Everything around us, the beautiful things around us, speaking to us, telling us about their creator, how this same creator is a creator for us as well, our creator as well, sorry. So they're talking to us, they become lively things. And we do not just consume them, just like we don't consume our friends, they stay with us. So there is such a huge difference. Any other comments about this part? Otherwise, we can continue with the next part. Okay, I see no comments. So we can continue. So this will be a long read. I warn you, it will be like a 10-15 minutes, probably 10 minutes, inshallah. Okay, let's start. From the beginning of this treatise up to here, in endeavoring to make an obstinate enemy accept the Quran's miraculousness by way of impartial reasoning, known as ascertaining the truth. Yusuf, if you don't mind, can you look at the Turkish version of this ascertaining the truth and the impartial reasoning? I was planning to look, but I forgot and I don't know it top of my head. So it would be really helpful if you can write them in the chat. By the way of impartial reasoning, known as ascertaining the truth, we have left secret many of the Quran's rights. We have left secret many of the Quran's rights. So we couldn't touch upon many important things or the Quran's right. We have to leave them as secret. We have brought that sun in among candles. Okay. Thank you, Jazakallah khairan, Yusuf. We brought that sun being, I guess, the Quran, in among candles and drawn comparisons. We have carried out the duty of ascertaining the truth and have proved its miraculousness in brilliant fashion. The author is saying that when it comes to ascertaining the truth, without even, taking part towards Quran. We were able to, up to this point, meaning more than a year's worth of discussions, we were able to prove the miraculousness of Quran. Now, he says, now in one or two words, not in the name of ascertaining the truth, but in that of reality. And for the reality, what is the original word, Yusuf, if you don't mind again? But in that of reality, we shall point to the Quran's true station, which is beyond comparison. So we will now talk about the core of the Quran, the real thing about the Quran, something that you have to live it, that you have to experience it. You cannot compare it to something else. And the author says we will talk about it very shortly. Indeed, the comparison of other speech to the Quran is that of minuscule reflections of stars in pieces of glass. Yusuf, by the way, again, I'm waiting for you to write the original word for reality, but in that of reality. Indeed, the comparison of other speech to Quran is that of minuscule reflections of stars in pieces of glass. How can the Quran's words, each of which depict and show a constant truth, be compared with the meanings man depicts through his words in the minute mirrors of his thoughts and feelings? How can the angelic living words of the Quran, which inspires the lights of guidance and are the speech of the all-glorious Creator of the sun and the moon, be compared with the men's bidding words, with their bewitching substance and sham subtleties for arousing base desires? Yes, the comparison of poisonous vermin and insects, and blessed angels and luminous spirit beings, is that of men's words and those of the Quran. The 25th word, together with the previous 24 words, have proved these truths. This claim of ours is not substantiated. Its proof is the above-mentioned conclusion. Indeed, how can the words of the Quran, which are all the shells of jewels of guidance and sources of the truths of belief and springs of the fundamentals of Islam, indeed, how can the words of the Quran, which are all the shells of jewels of guidance and sources of the truths of belief and springs of the fundamentals of Islam, and have come directly from the throne of all merciful one, and above and beyond the universe, look to men and descend to him, and comprise divine knowledge, power, and will, and are the pre-eternal address. How can its words be compared with men's vain, fanciful, futile, desire-nurturing words? Yes, how can the Quran, which is like a tree of tuba and spreads in the form of leaves, the word of Islam with all its qualities, marks, and the perfections, all its ordinances and principles, and displays as fresh and beautiful through its water of life, its purified scholars and saints, each like a flower, and produces all perfections and cosmic and divine truths as fruits. And again, like a fruit-bearing tree produces numerous seeds within its fruits, each like a principle and program for actions, and displays truths in continuous succession. How can this be compared with men's speech, which we know about? Where is the ground and where are the Pleiades? This Pleiades, I'm not sure about the pronunciation, sorry. I guess it's a constellation of stars.
Ülker yıldızı.
Thank you. That's really helping for our non-Turkish speaking people. Although for 1,350 years, the all-wise Quran has set forth and display all its truths in the market of the universe, and everyone, all nations, all countries, have taken some of its jewels and truths, and they do take them, neither the familiarity nor the abundance, nor the passage of time, nor the great changes have damaged its valuable truths and fine styles, or caused it to age, or desiccated it, or made it lose its value, or extinguished its beauty. This on its own is an aspect of miraculousness. If someone were to come forward now and put some of the truths of the Quran brought into a childish order according to his own fancies, and if he were to compare this with some of the Quran's verses in order to condense them and say, I have other words close to the Quran's, it would be utterly foolish. Like in the following example, there's a common man, a builder of ordinary houses, incapable of understanding the elevated inscriptions of a master who has built a splendid palace, the stones of which are various jewels, and has decorated it with harmonious adornments which look to the elevated inscriptions of all the palace and their relation to the stones. If the common man who had no share in any of the jewels and adornment of the palace were to enter the palace, destroy the elevated inscriptions in the valuable stones, and give it a form and order similar to that of an ordinary house, in accordance with his childish desires, and tack on a few beads pleasing to this juvenile weave, and then say, look, I have a greater skill and wealth and more precious adornments than the builder of the palace. In comparison, it would be the art of a crazy, raving forger. So I talked a lot, so I need some time to relax. So I need your help. So any comments, questions, some immediate thoughts? Again, comparing people's words, the humans' words with Quran, and making an emphasis on the Quran is coming from the creator of everything, full of wisdom, guidance. And we have all these examples in front of us for centuries. The Quran's word feeding people mind, hearts, shaping their lives, constituting Islam on the earth. All the scholars, passing of the time, not hurting its value, not decreasing its value. And on the other hand, the human childish desires and words. Abdurrahman, please go ahead. Jazakallah khairan.
Assalamu alaikum. You can hear me, right? Let me start with that.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I mean, when we are reading this, it's it's very clear. If it wasn't clear before, that truly the Quran is nothing like man's writing. It cannot be written by men, and also the previous verses that we were reading about the stars, the trees, the plants, the flowers, and resurrection, and it's the power and the wisdom. It's all very clear there. This is a writing that when you read it, you can say, yes, this can't be from man. This is from the Creator. But what I found, I don't know if I should say odd or like unsatisfying, I guess, was now Nursi is talking about how there's this vast divide or distinction between the Quran being written by the Creator or being sent down by the Creator versus how it cannot have been written by man. Like apparently the two extremes are, one, Quran was from the Creator, or the other extreme is that the enemy, let's so to speak, and maybe it was the enemy at his time, or even now it's the enemy, but the enemy is that people believe that, oh no, it was written by men. But I feel like the enemy of the Quran is not that people think it's written by men or something. Like I mean, I believe in the Quran. And especially like after all these discussions and things, I believe that man didn't write it, that my Creator wrote it. But the enemy of this is like it's not really affecting my life much. Like, yes, I can see that there's eloquence in it. I can see that it's written, that there must be a Creator, and that this is revealed. But still, as eloquent as it may be, it's almost so difficult to still like take into your own life, or it's so difficult to actually like pierce into it and actually like gain something that you then implement or that takes a hold in your life. So for me, and I don't know if this is relevant to the discussion being made by Nursi here, but I just wanted to like make a point that for me, like it's like the biggest extremes in my mind are not that, oh, one it was written by Quran. I mean, it was sent down by God, and the other it was the other side, like man wrote it or something. Like, I mean, that's already off the table. Like, but even let's agree that okay, the Quran was revealed by God, but still, is it actually changing? Like we were, and then it's talking about how it's affecting the world. It's leaving scholars and producing these perfections. I don't know, all these different things. And to some degree, I would say yeah, but to another degree, I have this doubt in me saying, why not? Why doesn't it do more? Or why is it still so difficult? It's such an eloquent book apparently, but it's really not. It's the minority of people are actually even reading the Quran to study it or even understand it. It's so eloquent that no one understands it almost, I guess. Like there's like this weird contradiction there. Yeah, I just felt unsatisfied. And I don't know if I made sense, but I just wanted to make a comment about that.
Jazakallah khairan. I think it makes great sense to me, at least. So this dissatisfaction, I sincerely thank you for sharing this, by the way. The eloquence of Quran or miraculousness of Quran, yes, it's one thing you say. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just trying to, you know, put it, what you said in my own words, so that I can understand better. It might be very eloquent, it might be very miraculous, even whatever in it, the way it is narrated, the way it is written or spoken, if we take it as a speech. It is miraculous, but yeah, like just because it is miraculous, it doesn't directly translate into its application in my life, or taking it as guide for myself. So that's what I understood from what you said. So this the explanations about its miraculousness, again, does not force me to take it as a guide to myself, to try to apply it into my life, in my life. And I guess there's a very valid point for sure. But just one question came to my mind while, you know, reiterating what you said, rephrasing, is either Quran or something else, we do follow things, we do take things as guide. If it's not Quran, it's something else. So we do live in a certain way. We have our norms, we have our standards, we have our ways of living. And again, if it is not Quran, if it's something else. So can we take this text that we just read, the comparison between Quran and the speech of human being, or explanations of human being, as a comparison between creator's speech and everything else? And if you do not take the speech of the creator as your guide, you are taking the speech of something else as your guide. It might be a speech of yourself, for instance. An author is saying that when you do this, you're taking the foolish path, because the speech that you are following cannot be even compared with the true guidance, which is Quran. So maybe taking this comparison that way, in this way, can one way or another, maybe just a little bit, clarify things. I don't know what you think, Abdurrahman, or anyone else. I guess that's a great point. It deserves to be discussed. So I would appreciate if you share your thoughts. Silence. Okay. Abdurrahman says that was helpful. Thanks. Thank you. Okay, we have 10 minutes left. There's actually one topic that I like to discuss, so we can end the discussion here if you don't have any other comments or questions. So I will wait a few more seconds to give you the last chance. Otherwise, I will end the discussion here. Mohammed Said, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was a little hesitating. Maybe the things that came to my, or by the way, I missed the some of the parts that Abdurrahman was making. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to take them into consideration because I wasn't really hearing it very well. I had a little bit crowd around me at that moment. But from these passages that you read lastly, I was thinking a couple of things came to my world. One, I thought that the author is kind of emphasizing on this point because of kind of his personal excitement. He's sharing that really taking the Quran as a guidance is like nothing else. It is something that only by experience you appreciate. Maybe the second point is that like, you know, there are some cases in the name of explaining the verses of the Quran, it makes it harder to communicate with the Quran. Actually, the same author uses an expression like the tafsir, the exegesis on the Quran should be like glass, transparent, not like a veil, becoming an obstacle to communicate with the messages in the Quran. I took these words, these last paragraphs you read, in terms of that the there are some it is maybe they are available. I should be careful while trying to understand, communicate with the messages in the Quran. I might be facing just the words of man, and it will not give me the same satisfaction, definitely, that the Quran provides. These are the two things I wanted to share. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. That was really important, which also goes back to beginning of this third beam, where the author says the speaker is important in a speech. So who's speaking is so important. So if you take the words coming from your creator, it will mean something completely different than when you take it as the words of a human being, even if you try to get some guidance out of it. Okay, any other thoughts, any other comments? Okay, it seems no. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.